Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. A few videos back I did a get ready with me where I used both Milk and Kosas on my face only, and that video was pretty well received. I really appreciated all the support that I had on that video, and I had one comment that suggested that I do more of those types of videos where I use two brands on my face, and I really like the concept of that, especially because there are a lot of brands out there that I feel like aren't necessarily like rivaling each other, but there are just a lot of similarities between the two brands. But for today's video, I've gathered up all of my Fenty Beauty and Rare Beauty products. These two brands are obviously celebrity brands. They are celebrity brands that are sold at Sephora. Fenty Beauty recently made their way into Ulta, which I think is a total game changer for the brand. And then just seeing all of the products together like this, to me, this looks like it could all be from one single brand. I'm going to be starting out with the Rare Beauty Pore Diffusing Primer. I don't have a primer or base product from Fenty that I'm going to use today, so yeah, we're gonna start out with the Pore Diffusing Primer. This is probably my most used primer in my collection. I do have some other primers that are like primer moisturizers that I do use pretty often as well, but in terms of like a true primer that's like smoothing, supposed to be good for mattifying, good for pore diffusing. This is what I reach for and what I go for. So here are the three foundation products that I have between the two brands. I have the Rare Beauty foundation, which I really enjoy. This is a great foundation. I have the Fenty Ease Drop Blurring Skin Tint, which I also really love and enjoy. I think that it does have a little bit more coverage than a regular skin tint or tinted moisturizer, but this is a great everyday product, especially if you have oily skin. And then I do have the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Hydrating Longwear foundation, and I used to have the mattifying version of this foundation, and it's so good. It's such a good foundation, but I don't own it anymore. I think that the ones that I had were just really old, so I just decluttered them and never ended up repurchasing them. For my skin today, I'm actually going to mix these two products. I like these individually a lot, but I am curious to see how I feel about them used together. This is also me just like not being able to pick between the two of them and what I want to wear today, even though I am going to go in with the Fenty concealer. Like, I already know that. So I just dotted the Rare Beauty foundation all over my skin. I do wear the shade 270N, and it's a really decent shade match for me. Pretty much year round I can end up wearing that shade. I'm just taking a little bit of the Fenty Beauty Ease Drop. In the Fenty Ease Drop, I wear the shade 11. I'm going to blend out this foundation with a beauty sponge. For the Rare Beauty foundation, I really like the look of it when I use my fingers to blend out my foundation, but I just don't want to get my fingers dirty right now, and a sponge does a pretty similar job. My least favorite way to blend out the Rare Beauty foundation is definitely with a brush, but I like the Fenty Ease Drop foundation with any technique. I really like the way that this is looking on the skin. It's super skin-like. It's not too much coverage. I feel like it's just enough for what I'm looking for. I feel like the Fenty Ease Drop can look pretty matte on the skin, but the Rare Beauty foundation I feel like brought a lot of, not like luminosity, but just more like a natural glow to the skin. So I really like the combo of that. So here's my Rare Beauty concealer and here's my Fenty concealer. I'll go ahead and swatch them both. Between the two concealers, I definitely find myself using the Fenty Beauty one much more. I think it has a lot to do with the shade that I have. So that is Fenty Beauty 280, and then that is Rare Beauty 270N. The Rare Beauty one is definitely a lot more yellow, which is fine. I think that that still works for my skin. I'm going in now with the Fenty Beauty concealer. I do prefer the color of this concealer and just the way that it blends out on the skin. I like the texture of it a lot. It's kind of moussey, which I do enjoy. I feel like the Rare Beauty and the Fenty Beauty probably have very similar coverages, but I do just always gravitate more towards the Fenty Beauty concealer than the Rare Beauty one. I'm actually not sure if Fenty Beauty has an eyebrow product, but I do have a brow product from Rare Beauty. This is their Shape and Fill Duo. The packaging is pretty interesting and it opens up like this. It does have a little mirror inside of it, and then it does come with a small brush. that you can open up, and then it also has a little spoolie. So the packaging itself is pretty useful. I do have the shades brown and black. So this is the brown one, and then this is the black one. I tend to use the brown one more, but I really don't enjoy this brow product too much. The brush, I think, is a great addition. Like, I really love when brow products come with pretty much like all you need to create your brow look, but the brush is really thick, so I can't really get like brow like strokes going on. I feel like it's definitely better for just distributing the brow product throughout, which might be kind of like what they were going for. They just kind of want you to be able to add some quick color. But I don't find that these brow powders are that pigmented either, even though the brown shades are pretty dark. Yeah, I am just like kind of having a hard time building up the color, especially in the areas that I like to add color because there really is none. I definitely feel like it might kind of like adhere to the actual brow hairs more, but when it comes to actually getting the powder on the parts of my brow that don't have any hair, which is like where I especially want to fill in, it kind of has a hard time sticking to the skin, I feel like. I don't have a brow gel or anything from either brand, but I'm just using the e.l.f. Brow Lift. Here's a close-up of the skin and also the brows. The brows look just okay. I think that it does create a very natural looking brow. I think really because there's just hardly any pigment in these little brow powders. I'm seeing if maybe going over it a little bit with the brow gel, like brow product through my brows, it might stick a little better. I'm not really a big fan of the brow product from Rare Beauty. I kind of think that they would do a brow gel really well, so hopefully that's something that we see in the future from the line. I don't have an eye primer from either of the brands, although I do think both brands have their own eye primer. I just don't usually buy eye primers because I really find the ones that I already have to work so well, and that is the Milani eye primer and then the Urban Decay eye primer. I just think that those ones work so well. I've not really found an eye primer that works better than those, and I kind of don't need an eye primer that works better than those because I feel like those are just the best, hands down. So I do have eyeshadows from both Rare Beauty and Fenty Beauty. I have the Fenty Beauty Snap Shadows. I have the #1 palette, and then I also have the #5 palette. I am personally not a huge fan of the formula of these shadows. They are fine. They're just not really my favorite. There's something about them that I don't enjoy as much as some of the other eyeshadows in my collection. However, I do not like the Rare Beauty eyeshadow palette. I think that the actual eyeshadows are fine. However, I despise the fact that the largest shadow in this palette is literally just a pressed glitter, and that bothers me so much because a pressed glitter hardly looks the way that you ever really want it to look up close. And I think that that's fine. Like, you can definitely make a pressed glitter work and still look very beautiful. There's a place for a pressed glitter, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But up close, it always ends up looking chunky. Like, it looks way better from far away, and I don't really want that with my makeup. I would like my makeup to look really good close up as well. I'm not going to use the Rare Beauty one today. I just don't really enjoy that eyeshadow palette ever. But I am going to use the Fenty Beauty Snap Shadows. I do prefer the Snap Shadows over the Rare Beauty shadows, but in my opinion, I don't know if like Rare Beauty and Fenty Beauty do eyeshadows all that well. I'm going to bounce around between the 5 and the 1 eyeshadow palette, so I'm going to start in with 5 and use this middle matte shade. I do love how both of the eyeshadow palettes that I have from Fenty Beauty have an equal amount of mattes and shimmers. I do really appreciate that. I also recently used the Fenty Beauty eyeshadows on my sister, which if you want to see us hanging out and me doing her makeup, it's the last video that I did where I was doing her makeup for her headshots. But I did really like the look that I created using this eyeshadow palette. I just don't use it very often because the colors end up looking kind of different on me than what I think that they'll look like. And yeah, they're just like not my favorite eyeshadows to play with in my collection. But I do think, you know, for a lot of people, these are really good eyeshadows. These are eyeshadows that a lot of people use and like. One reason why I started off with this very warm orangey shade is that I do find the #1 palette to pull really cool and neutral on me, which I definitely prefer more warm tone shadows. I am going in now with that medium brown shade from the #1 eyeshadow palette, and I'm just going to layer it on top of the shade that we just put down. I do really hope that Rare Beauty comes out with maybe like eyeshadow sticks sometime. I think that that would be super on brand for them. And then from Fenty Beauty, I feel like they would do liquid eyeshadows really, really well, especially if they were like liquid shadows that were super metallic. I think that those would do really well and be super on brand for them. I'm going to take the deepest matte brown in the #1 palette, and I'm taking it on a very small eyeshadow brush, and I'm going to line my lash line with that shade. To kind of tone that down, I'm taking a little blending brush and I'm dipping into the light matte shade in the #1 palette, and I'm just going to like use that to diffuse that brown and just blend it out, make it a little bit more smoky. I want to take that medium brown from the #1 palette, taking that on that smaller blending brush, and I just want to add a little bit more color on the outer corner to kind of make sure that those two shades mesh and blend. They just kind of like meet at a point. I don't think I've ever used this middle shimmery shade from the #5 palette. Yeah, just don't think I would use that. Here's the other shade, and then let me go ahead and just swatch that. I think that that kind of like pinky gold shade is just so pretty. And then here are the 3 shimmers from the #1 palette. I think those are really pretty as well. I'm actually going to use this bronzy shade from the #5 palette, and I am going to put that kind of in the center and like on the rest of the eye. So we're gonna have it be over here. This is like a huge brush. I don't know if I should have used this brush. That's why I like to do the smoky liner first as well, because I do love the look of that smoky liner kind of peeking through, especially when I do shimmers. I really like the look of that. And now I'm gonna go in with this shimmer shade from the #1 palette. And I kind of want to put that, focus it on the like inner corner, but also carry it over top of that shimmer shade that we just used, because I kind of want to tone that down a little bit, but still have that base for like the color, because I think that the combination of those would just look really pretty. Just going over a little bit with some more of that dark shade right along my lash line. Kind of just like barely, like just doing a little bit. I am going to curl my lashes. For my mascara, I am going in with the Rare Beauty mascara. I enjoy this mascara so much. I use it a lot. It's probably one of my favorite mascaras. I have never tried the Fenty Beauty mascara. They might even have 2 formulas now. I'm not actually sure about that, but I just never was interested in that mascara. It always, the wand is so big and like almost chunky that it kind of looks like it would be really clumping, and that's not like my favorite kind of mascara formula. But this one is amazing. This Rare Beauty one is amazing. I never have any eye irritation with it, which is a big deal for me. I also just really enjoy the way that my lashes look when I use it. I never have any smudging or flaking, and it is super easy to take off at the end of the day, which is also really important for me. So that is what the Rare Beauty mascara looks like through my lashes. I think that it just does a really awesome job at lengthening them, making them look fuller and thicker. And then I also don't really struggle with having to work at it to get it to not be clumpy. It just is a really easy mascara to use and wear. So yeah, it's just one of my favorites. I use it like all the time. For bronzer, I am going to be using the Fenty Beauty Cheeks Out Freestyle Cream Bronzer in Macchiato. I do kind of wish I had the shade that was one up from this shade, but I've obviously hit pan on this. Like, I really, really enjoy this bronzer. It blends into the skin really beautifully. it is just a really nice, natural looking bronzer. So I do reach for this quite a bit and I do really enjoy it. I also, from Rare Beauty, really enjoy their newer bronzing sticks. So I have the two shades Happy Soul, and I also have Power Boost. So that is Happy Soul, and then that is Power Boost. I do use Happy Soul. That's the shade that I use. I don't really use the Power Boost shade. It just really is too light. Maybe I'll end up using both of the bronzers because I might want a little bit more color after I get some of the Fenty Beauty Cream bronzer on my skin. But I feel like it's just like effortlessly blending right in to my skin, and it is just so pretty. It's such a nice cream bronzer. It's not too creamy because there are some bronzers out there, some cream bronzers out there that are just a little bit too creamy and kind of slip around. This formula is really enjoyable. But yeah, I do kind of wish I had a deeper shade in this formula, so I might still go in with my Rare Beauty one. I am going in a little bit with Happy Soul from Rare Beauty, just because the Fenty Beauty bronzer is so light. It is very light on me. Seeing that definitely made me realize that I do need a deeper shade in that bronzer, but at least you guys can see kind of how both of these bronzers look. So yeah, that one, the Rare Beauty one, does just add a little bit more color. It's not super deep, it's not like too deep, but it just adds a little bit more color into the skin, so I'm glad that I mixed those. I have one blush from Fenty Beauty, and it is the Cheeks Out Freestyle Cream Blush in the shade Rose Latte. And this shade is so gorgeous. I really enjoy it for both the lips and the cheeks, which I appreciate so much in a cream blush. So that is what Rose Latte looks like. It's also a buildable color, so if you wanted it to not be super intense, easy to just use a little bit, and if you wanted to build it up a little bit more, just keep piling on that color. But then I have 5 shades of the Rare Beauty liquid blush, and I love this formula of blushes except for the matte formula. I do not enjoy the matte formula like at all. The only shade that I have from the matte formula is Faith, and it just dries way too quick. It's not quite as like opaque as the other one. So not only is it drying way too quick, it's also not like blending out very nicely. So yeah, I just am not a huge fan of the matte formula of these blushes, but all of the other shades that I have from the line are so pretty. That is Joy, that is Hope, that is Encourage, and that is Believe, and then that last one is Faith. So 3 of these, so the 3 middle ones, which are the newest shades from the line, those are the shades that Rare Beauty sent me. But I purchased Joy on my own, which I adore that shade, and then I did purchase Faith on my own. I've also tried to like mix Faith in with other colors and other products, but I've never really gotten it to quite be the way that I want it to be. So these Rare Beauty blushes are very intense. A good tip that I have is if you purchase one of these blushes and they are just a little bit too intense for you, mix them in with your concealer, and it will not really alter the shade too much, but it will tone it down, and obviously will still look really nice because it's your skin tone mixing in with the blush. So it ends up creating like a really nice, very flattering blush shade, but still tones it down a little bit so it's not as intense for you. I think I'm gonna mix these two. I've never mixed these two before, but this is Joy and Hope. And I just feel like overall Joy will look so good with the eye look, but I think that mixed together, they'll create a really cute shade. So that is Hope, and then that is Joy, and let's go ahead and mix these. That is super cute. I think that'll look really nice. A little bit goes a long way with these blushes. So definitely start with a lighter hand. I absolutely won't use all of that. These blushes are so gorgeous though. I feel like anyone would really love them. I do kind of wish that they had more options available for minis in these. I do know that like around the holidays we do get minis in some sets, but I just think like for a lot of people it would probably be really impossible to go through an entire one of these. I know that like I'll probably never go through an entire tube of one. This shade is gorgeous. I could not love it more than I already do. Also, just the longevity of these blushes as well. Like I know that it's going to look so good all day. I am going to keep this on the back of my hand for a little bit because I am going to set my skin with some powder, and I usually like to go in with a little bit of more blush after I set my skin with powder. So I have the Fenty Beauty powder, and then I also have a Rare Beauty powder. The Rare Beauty powder is a little bit deep, and it is a light medium shade, but it definitely has some color to it. It's not translucent. Oh my god, I just got some on the bed. And then the Fenty Beauty one that I have is in the shade Butter, and it's their smaller one. And I don't think it's technically translucent, but it's also like it has a little bit of color to it, but it's mainly translucent. I don't really have like a preference towards either powder. I do feel like the Fenty Beauty one is a little bit more like an actual very mattifying, like you can totally bake with this powder and have it make sense. It's a little bit more powdery and like a little bit more, it's something that you would probably use more with like a full coverage look. I'm putting a little bit of it underneath of my eyes just because it is the lighter of the two. And I do find the Rare Beauty powder to also be like a regular powder that like you could definitely use with a more full coverage look, but it's also a little bit more natural looking. It's not quite as like super intensely blurring and like mattifying. Hopefully that makes sense. They are definitely different powder formulas, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, they are just powders. So I think like deciding if you kind of want a powder more for full coverage looks or if you want a powder more for every day. I think if you wanted a powder more for every day, you would maybe go towards the Rare Beauty one. But I think if you are a full coverage person, you might like the Fenty Beauty one a little bit more. I think that like it might work better for baking and stuff like that. I think that the Rare Beauty powder, and I haven't seen if they have a translucent one, but at least the one that I have in light medium is a little bit too dark to do any baking with. But just on the rest of my face, I'm putting the Rare Beauty one all over. I'll go in with just the smallest amount more of blush, just adding a little bit more color into the cheeks, but not really. I do go overboard with blush like often, so. Last is lips, and I only have one lip product between the two brands. I used to have a Rare Beauty, like their colored lip balm, and I hated the way that that tasted. I forget what color I had in it, but it was a really cute color. The formula felt nice enough, but the taste of them was really yucky. And I do also feel that way a little bit with the Fenty Beauty one that I have here as well, and it's also kind of like a lip balm. It was their Slip Shine Sheer Shiny Lipstick, and I have mine in the shade Cookies and Cocoa, but I ended up throwing away my Rare Beauty one because I think it was growing some mold. Like I went through all my lipsticks to declutter, and I was kind of like on the fence about that one when I went to go grab it, but I swear like it had some mold growing on it. It was weird. This lip shade is really pretty. It's like a very much My Lips But Better, but has really cute shimmer throughout it that you just don't feel. But yeah, this one has an interesting taste and smell to it as well, but it's not as like repulsive as the Rare Beauty one, so it's fine. Also, I spent so long on my hair this morning, like actually curling it, and it looks horrible. Like it looks terrible. The curls fell so much. I'm actually going to have to like go back in and re-blow dry it, I think, because it just looks so bad. I'm kind of annoyed by how bad my hair came out. For my final step, I am going to spray my face with some setting spray. And I don't have a setting spray from either brand, so I'm just going to use my Milk. So I am so happy with how everything looks on the skin. I love the foundation, I love the cheek products. I also really love the eyes. I forgot I had some mascara smudging over here. The only thing on my face that I'm not a big fan of are the brows. I totally would go in with a different brow product, which I actually think I might do after I'm done filming this video. But yeah, this is my full face of Rare Beauty and Fenty Beauty combined. Let me know what you guys think of the look that I created with the two brands and whether you have a preference on like which brand you like better. I think at the end of the day, I like or prefer a lot more products from Rare Beauty than Fenty Beauty, but I also really appreciate both of the lines and the products that they give us. So yeah, I think that they're both really amazing brands. I would love to know if you have a preference. But that is going to be it from me today. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed. If you aren't already subscribed, definitely go ahead and do so, and hopefully I will see you next time.